Hello, hello. How's everybody doing tonight? Welcome to another Spindle TV exclusive class. Got with me, joining me tonight is Ronnie Ferrier. Ronnie, am I pronouncing your last name right? Ferrier?
Boy, you got it right. Sometimes that doesn't happen.
Okay,
But
good.
you know,
All right, all right, excellent. Making sure. David, Chuck, there's a few others in there, but my chat for some reason will not scroll up right now. So I don't know why, but hopefully everybody's doing well. I'll say hi to everybody as y'all pop in, but I can't get this chat to scroll back up. But tonight we are going to be working on a project that was submitted by Ronnie. It is a 1911 stand. It's basically a desktop or countertop or manteltop, whatever. It's a tabletop stand that supports and displays 1911 firearm. I'm sure that they could be modified to support other firearms down the road, right, Ronnie? This one just happens to be a 1911. So one of the things that that we can take a look at is for those that do not have a spire. This part, especially the angle, there's an angle on the front side. Ronnie, can you show that to everyone really quickly? So there's a 14-degree angle on the front side of this display stand. And in order to create that, we can use the molding toolpath if we don't have the Vectric Aspire software. If we do have the Vectric Aspire software, we can use, the modeling tools. Either way, whether you use the molding toolpath or the modeling tool, it's still going to be a 3D model cut. Given that it's a 14-degree angle, there's really not a good V-bit to do like a chamfer or anything because of its length. It's about 1 5/8 inches long at that 14-degree angle from the front of that display up. Given its length, we are it's on the chamfer toolpath that would require a ball nose bit to use. So we could do a chamfer toolpath with a ball nose bit. We could do a molding toolpath, or if we have Vectric Aspire, we can create the 3D model, right? So we're going to look at those three different things tonight and everything. We're going to start off with the modeling aspect of it and just kind of get the general part laid out. I'm going to get Ronnie sent me an email with some measurements, and we're going to get started with that. And then we're going to, excuse me, sorry. We're going to get started with that. Let me get over here. We're going to get started with modeling, and then we'll kind of look at the other two toolpaths and the other ways to do things. Hi, Alan and Roger. Good to see y'all. Okay, so let's share screen here, or window. Share an entire window. So don't forget this time. And let's throw Ronnie and I over to the side. Something along those lines for now. Okay. So the when it comes to the software, basically, let's look at this job setup. I have this set up as a two-sided project. Now, this project, the stand, On the bottom side, it has kind of a recess where there's some countersunk screws for the upright part that basically acts as the magazine or basically the magazine support. The pistol slides on that. And is it a clip or a magazine? What's the proper terminology? There's a big debate about that. All right. So now this project is a two-sided project, but the reason why I have it as a two-sided project because there's some countersunk holes on the bottom side that somebody could just they could do that on their own hand with their hand tools and stuff like that. But we're going to just set it up that way in the Vectric software, and whether you use that second side or not, it doesn't matter. This project has an overall length of 7 7/8 and an overall width of 3 9/16, and then a thickness of 5/8. With that, we're going to be flipping. I've got this set up to flip along the x-axis, left to right. I'm sorry. Along the y-axis, front to back. And excuse me. I just got it set up to start in the center. Give me 1 second. I'm got a frog in my throat for some reason. Excuse me. Okay, so before I get started, audio, everything okay with the audio? I'm not too loud, not too quiet, not too soft-spoken. Everybody can hear me and understand me? Wonderful.
Sounds great.
Okay, great. All right, so when we come in here, and let's go a little bit bigger. So Ronnie and I down in the corner here so everybody can see full screen kind of. When we go with the size and everything, once we're all set up, notice that I have the model resolution set up to an extremely high level. If we're going to build this as a model, we want that 3D resolution to be like crisp and everything. Now, in general setup, we just set it up with a very high resolution, and you click OK in the software, and then it takes just a second to hold down that shift key and come back to your job setup, and you'll get those extra choices and everything there. Now, if you hold your shift key down when you click on create a new project, right at the front splash screen, it'll give you that same effect. But if you forget to do that, once you set up your job, if you click OK, you can simply hold the shift key down and go back to the set job dimension and origin, and which is that first icon under file operations. And now that you're holding the shift key, it gives you those two hidden options. So what we're doing is we're going with an extremely high resolution so that we have a nice crisp model. Now in our 2D view, let's switch over to the 2D view. You can see here that we have the layout, kind of a top view, right? And what we're going to do is we are going to, when it comes to the modeling aspect, we're going to use a 2-rail sweep method. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take a line tool, and we're going to just draw 2 lines, one at the top going across the top, and then at the bottom going across the bottom, front to back. Make sure they're going both the same direction. And then we're going to draw kind of a rectangle, like almost like a side view, turned 90 degrees, if you will. So this part is going to be 3 9/16 inches tall, and it's going to be 5/8 inches wide, 0.625. It's going to kind of represent this stand without the angle so far, just kind of its thickness and its height. When we, oh, Ronnie, did we lose each other?
No, I think we're just for a minute we did, or a second.
Ronnie. Hold on a minute. We are losing internet over here. That's on my end, guys. The internet, that's on my end. The internet kicked out for a moment. Okay, my apologies, everyone. We're back now. Sorry about that, folks. That's on my side. I don't know if somebody hit a pole or something, but we lost internet for a brief moment, but my backup kicked in. Okay, so as I was saying here on this part that we drew, this basically, like I said, it's kind of like a side view turned 90 degrees. And this represents the thickness of the part from when it's sitting on the table up to the top. And then, of course, the width of it. Now, guidelines are your best friend when we are doing things and doing layout and stuff. And I've already got some guidelines laid out, but let me delete these guidelines so I can show you from scratch. But on these guidelines and everything, we are going to put a guideline at the top. This back side here represents the top, by the way. And that's what I was saying before we were interrupted. We only use 3 sides of the vector. So in node editing mode, we want to delete this back span. We only have the 3 sides, okay? And the open span, the open part always faces kind of away from the part, faces away from the part. So on the guideline that we have here, we are going to take a, let's call it a horizontal guideline. We're going to bring it down to the bottom, snap it right at the bottom, and then we're going to make a parallel guideline up 1 5/8, I believe, is our magic number, Ronnie.
That's right.
Yep. And so that number is going to be a positive number. Delete that. 1 5/8. And we're going to go up. And what that's going to do is that's going to give us this cross member right here. Now, at this point, the guideline that's here, we're actually going to rotate it. We're going to change the angle of it. And we, from Ronnie's notes and everything, the angle we have at 14 degrees. So we are actually going to subtract 14 degrees from 90. It'll give us 76 degrees. We're going to click apply, and it's going to shift our guideline. And we're going to move our guideline and snap it right in place here. Get it right up on our intersection. There we go. Now, from that point, if we go into node editing, at that same intersection, we can insert a node, insert a point, and really get on it. You know, make sure that node is like tight and right, you know, for our measurements and stuff. And then I literally can just take this node and drag it over to the guideline and snap it to that guideline. Now, if you want, let me turn off the guides. If you want to verify that it is a 14-degree angle that we drew, we can use the measure tool and we can do an angle dimension. Now, I already have a dimension here. And so I'm going to turn that on for a minute and I'm going to delete it. Let me select it and delete it. We'll start again. But with the dimension, we are going to basically click right here at the top of the angle. We're going to literally come down 90 degrees, so straight down. Click again at the bottom of the part, and then move over to the leg. When we get that green line, we're going to click again. We're doing an inside measurement, so pull out those little arrows, and we should see 14 degrees, right? Okay, so now this represents our part. If I were to turn it 90 degrees, I'll just rotate it real quick. That's our part, right? This is the top of the base going down at 1 5/8, 14 degrees to the end, you know, the left or right side, left side. So that's what we have. Okay, so now that we have the part drawn, now we simply do a 2-rail sweep. We select our first top vector, hold down the shift key, select our bottom vector, and that's our drive rails. And then we select our profile that's going to get swept between those parts. We'll just call this our base and hit apply. It will sweep that part across. And then in our 3D view, we can come and turn to see that part that we just created, right?
Cool.
So we kind of have this left side view here. Okay. Now, on here, Ronnie, I saw there was some adhesive for like a name tag and everything on there. One of the things that you could do if you decide or ever if you need to or anything like that is you can create a little flat pocket in there the size of the name tag, so it's kind of like recessed, so when the adhesive is put on, it doesn't stick the name tag up so far above the part kind of thing. You can mill a little pocket for the adhesive to go down to where it's just barely above the surface, so when the name tag sticks to it, it's almost like the name tag is like right on top of the wood, right, or whatever the material is.
And this would have a pocket in it as well.
It does. Okay,
yeah.
So we're gonna end up creating that pocket, that recess, because if we're gonna be carving this model, we might as well carve it as whole. Now, one of the things that we want to do on this is, Ronnie, from the let's come here, from the end of the part. If I come in from the end, there's a pocket for this clip, right? There's a pocket. Let's pretend it's right there, right? So what I need is the measurement from the end of the part to the leading edge of that pocket, and then how wide and how long the pocket is, basically.
Okay, you're 1 inch and 1/8.
Sorry, 1 inch and 1/8. Is that the first number from the side?
Right, from the side there.
All right, so we go 1.125 and create that guideline. Okay. And then
the post for that magazine is like 1.25 inches wide. So another 1.25 inches from that mark.
Okay, another 1.25 inches from that mark. We create another guideline. And so that gives us our start and end point. Now, how wide is that mortise, if you will?
It is a 1/2 inch.
1/2 inch. So if we draw a line from here to here, space bar to finish, we select that line and go to our offset tool. We can offset in both directions 1/4 inch. And 1/4 1/4 makes a 1/2, right? We can then, at that point, we can, let's turn off the guidelines. We can remove that middle line, and we can join this and close this up with straight lines, these two lines here. And so bear with me a second. I got my model selected. Now, the one main thing, we got one more measurement we need for this. From the back side, the flat, from the back side to the side of the part, how far from the back side in is it to that edge of that mortise?
It is, let's call it 13/16.
Okay. Let's delete that and let's go up here. Try that again. Negative 0.8125. Okay, so now I can take this part and snap it right there. I can get rid of this line, turn off all these guidelines or delete them or what have you, but that will be the start of our first kind of part. Now, The depth of that.
Now, Laney, I hate to interrupt you, but I should mention, based on the way this one is, the post is actually on the right side of the base. Whereas, and I don't guess it really matters, but just.
No. So where the angle, let me pull you up, Ronnie, real quick. Let me pull Ronnie up on the screen.
So if you're looking at the front, this being the front, this would be over on this side. Maybe I'm getting.
Yeah, no, it is the right. I have it right. So let me make the pocket. How deep is that? Is it? Does there a depth to it?
Let me go
Roughly,
grab a
roughly.
screwdriver. Well, let's see.
I mean,
Here.
it's
Roughly,
we can
roughly, it's
quarter.
about 3/8.
Okay, so we'll do that. Let me show you here, Ronnie, what I got so far. So if I go 0.375 and I subtract that,
Get back to your screen.
Create that. If we go to the 3D view, let's go back to the share.
There we go.
Maximize this back and bring us here. If I'm trying to turn the screen. If I turn here, where the angle is and everything, is that not correct? That's what I see on the screen, unless your camera is mirrored. The part is here, and then there's the angle.
Yeah, I'm just when I hold this up, looking at your part where the angle is, the post itself would be over there on the right side. But again, it doesn't really. I mean, the gun would just be turning like right now. The barrel of the gun would be pointing to the left. With your design, when you put it on the post, the barrel of the gun is going to be pointing to the right.
Wait. Are y'all mirrored from what I'm seeing? Because I am on the right side of the part. I'm on the post on the left side with the angle at the front. So I have the angle here at the front. Are y'all seeing? Hey, there's JR. Let me get JR on the screen here. Is my camera mirrored or something? Do I need to mirror my camera?
Well, it's kind of. I mean, maybe everybody sees what. Maybe I'm seeing something different, but I see the pocket for the post is on the left side of the base.
Right now. Okay. Now left side with the angle here. So yeah. if I come this way, right, Ron?
Yeah.
Like I'm looking at your camera right there. So you're pointing this end right here is the end that you're pointing to the camera.
Yeah. And
right?
see how this would be down over here on the right side of that base. Maybe it's being displayed differently here.
It's got to be displayed. Can you see what you're displaying on the screen?
Yeah.
I'm going to bring Ronnie back up.
Yeah. Yeah. So
I swear, Ronnie, that's exactly what I have. That's 100%. That's 100% what I have.
So you're looking at the bevel here.
Which is on the side of the part. Can you see here? Let me
this
hold
is
on
the
a second.
Front. This would be the front of it.
All right, let's turn it to the front. Hold on, let's turn it to the front. This is the front.
I think you're displaying it right, Laney.
Oh, it doesn't look right. Because see now, if I turn my display to match what you have right there, this is the back. I'm looking at the back of yours, or this would be different. That's all I'm saying. This is now the back of the display stand. The post on the right
I see.
side.
Hold on. Your camera is backwards, Ronnie. So hold that up in the air a little bit higher. Hold that in the air. So when the bevel's to you, it's on the right side. When the bevel's to you, so that's not a problem. When the bevel's to you, it's on the right side. Not an issue. So we'll take that and this.
And like I said, it's not a, I mean,
No,
this
it is. No, it's yeah. It's but it's backwards in the camera on the camera. So that's why, because I was looking at it with the part towards me versus like if you're at your computer screen, the part would be facing you at the computer screen. Let me flip that real quick.
Okay.
That's distort mirror. Create that, flip horizontally. You go over there.
I'm going to go grab a screwdriver real quick and take this post off of there, because I don't think this thing is really sitting down inside this 3/8 of an inch. It's just this acrylic kind of makes it look like it's that deep. But
Sure.
I don't think it's.
Yep. While you do that, we'll see how JR is doing. Where'd JR go? Oh, did I not? There's JR. How you doing, JR? What's up, buddy? All right. So let me get everything going. So in the chat, let me see what the chat said there. See, I see the same thing. Chuck A said. Chuck A, what's the same thing? You saw Ronnie's view or my view? Because I was looking at it with like pretend I'm Ronnie and I had the bevel towards me, that kind of thing. So, all right, and that's right now. So it's right now. Okay, I was backwards. Let me go back into the 3D view, and we should be golden right there. All right, now, perfect. Now we'll get the how the dimensions are, because we have to make the other part, the second part, which is the actual post that goes in there and everything. But when you're done measuring that part, the depth and all, once you get it taken apart and all, what I'm gonna get from you is the measurement for the label on the front. Now, while Ronnie is pulling those measurements and everything, I want to talk to you about the molding toolpath. So if we did not have Vectric Aspire, then the molding toolpath is our second option for creating this part. Now, when it comes to the molding toolpath, we'd be using basically the same bit that we would use if it was a 3D model, a ball nose bit. We would be a 1/4 inch ball nose would be fine if you didn't have one, an 1/8 inch as well, but a 1/4 inch would be okay, because it's there's no detail to it. It's just a flat area and all. But we are about to make a pocket on this front bevel. So that being said, on that pocket on the front bevel, we could use an 1/8 inch ball to get the nice inside edges of those pockets and everything. Now, here on our molding toolpath, I'll go ahead and change it to an 1/8 inch tapered ball nose. And we are going to, when it comes to the molding toolpath, you have to draw your rail. It's a single rail, one rail. And then you have the profile that rail is going to run along. So think of this profile over here on the right being a curtain. And think of this top rail across the top being the curtain rod. We're going to be kind of, taking this. I got to close the toolpath or it won't let me select it. We're going to be taking this and kind of running it along that curtain rod all the way across, right? We're going to kind of just pull it in that direction. So in that molding toolpath, when I select this rail and then I come and select this part, oops, hold your shift key down, select this part, notice that it gives me these short lines. It doesn't bring it all the way across. It's saying, hey, I'm only bringing it down here because, one, the part has to be rotated. So I have to rotate, got to close this tool like that. Don't ask me why, but I do. The molding tool path, and hold down that shift key. select that part. So it drags it all the way across. You see that? Now, the depth for the mag post is 0.0935. So that's the depth of that pocket, 0935.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so we'll go back and fix that. But now, with this created, let's go ahead and let's calculate this toolpath and see what we end up with and see if it created it exactly the way we want it. We will go from there. Okay. Let me switch this around. All right, so if we preview this visible toolpath, we should end up with that part, right? Okay. And so whether we use the molding toolpath or we use the, the two rail sweep, if we do have the model, either one of them are going to get us from point A to B on that, whichever one that you do. And both of them are going to be 3D cuts because they use the ball nose and it creates a 3D model. The difference is the Aspire gives us the model. We have the physical model right here that we can see. Okay. The second thing is with the molding toolpath, we have just a tool path. There's no vector. Well, I mean, there's vectors, but there's no model that gets created. So if I try to, let's say that I wanted to carve a name on this angle by using the molding toolpath where there is no 3D model, there is technically, when I'm doing a V-carve toolpath, there's no model to project upon. And let me make this screen just a little bit bigger and bring us all down at the bottom here. So right here, follow the mouse. Let's do the mouse over here. Follow the mouse. Right here where it says project toolpath onto 3D model. Well, that wouldn't work for us because the molding toolpath creates a toolpath. It doesn't create a physical model. So there's nothing for the software to see in order to carve the text down on that angle and to get it to follow and all that stuff because it is not a model. Even though it's a model kind of cut, it's not physically a model. Aspire, we have the ability to create a model. So therefore, if I were carving, let's say, again, a name across the top, I can project that toolpath onto the model and it'll follow that model, right? It'll carve shallow where it needs to carve shallow and deep where it needs to carve deep, kind of thing, to try to create that consistent of a cut. So in our 2D view, notice here that when I created this part and I have this turning this way here, right? It created the part with the bevel on the back. If we look at the 3D view again, of the tool path that was created, let's go back into here, the preview. In the tool path that was created, when I click on the front, I'm actually looking at the back where the front is over here on the back side, right? So it's kind of 180 degrees backwards. So in order to correct that, on that swept profile, we would just either move the rail down here. No, I'm sorry, that's a lie. If we move just so you know what's going to happen, if we move the rail down there, it brings the model down there. So that was the wrong. Don't do what I was about to say. What we need to do is we can right click and reverse the direction, and then we can bring that line down to the bottom, or let me undo that. Or we can reverse the direction on the rail, right? This way. So I'm going to just reverse on the profile. I'm going to reverse the direction on the profile. We're going to recalculate that tool path. And now when I'm at the front, that should be my bevel. Like the left side, the front should be my bevel here. So if we reset the preview the visible tool path, we should have that, right? And that is the molding toolpath, ladies and gentlemen. All right, so the rail starts from back here in this direction, and it's across the top. Okay, that puts the bevel. This dark area represents the bevel right there. That puts it at the front. When we're using a 3D model, when we're creating a 3D model, then this profile is 90 degrees to the part, and we're using a 2-rail sweep to sweep it across between those 2 rails. Okay. All right. So now let's go back over to our side here. And on this mortise that we have here, the depth is 0.0935, roughly, so it's not very deep at all, 0.0935. We apply that. That should reduce that depth some. And we're, good to go there. Now, on the front, let's get to the front here. On this front piece, we have a recess for a pocket. Correct, Ronnie?
Correct.
And so if I go into the 2D view, we're going to take our guidelines again. We already have a guideline at the leading edge here. So, Ronnie, from that edge with the bevel towards you, basically, from the left edge over to the left edge of the little pocket, what's our number?
13/16.
Okay, so we can just make that a positive number.
And then it's the actual pocket itself measures 3 3/4 on the X, and it is 1 1.25 on the Y.
Okay.
And the depth of that pocket is 0.055.
Okay. So just to let's go through and delete all guides. Just to reiterate, from that edge, sorry, I'm getting choked up. From that edge, we are at 0.8125, 13/16. That's our first. And then from there, we are at 3 3/4.
Correct.
Right? Okay, so that, and again, hold on a second. I'm a goofball. Needs to be a relative move. 3.75. Okay, now we'll delete the thing that did not belong. Delete this. Now, Ronnie, you threw out 2 additional numbers, and I wasn't. I was talking.
So from that guideline over to the right, it's going to be 3 3/4.
Yes, I have that. That's the 3 3/4 mark here.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
All right.
And
so
then
now from the front of the bevel.
Yeah, it's 1/4 of an inch up from the front of the bevel.
Okay. That's 0.25, 0.25. Okay.
And then from there, it goes up 1 1.25 inches.
1 1/4.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, so almost right at the top of that bevel.
Correct.
Right? Okay. So now we have a set of guidelines that we can take. And Ronnie, is there any radius on? Is it square? Is it
there is
on the corners?
There is a real small radius.
Okay, so probably most likely from the router bit or something, or
yeah,
that and everything. No problem. All right, now this is going to be the fun part here. So when we create this recess, when we create this recess and everything, if I come in, and how deep did you say roughly that little pocket was?
0.055.
Okay, 0.055. So if I come in and create a flat pocket, so 0.055, so 0.055, and I subtract that from the model here, we should be able to see that it creates that nice consistent 0.055. Even though my model's angled and everything, there's nothing special that I had to do because it's following the model. So that part, we do a subtract. We're subtracting from the model underneath. So since it's already beveled, the pocket's going to be beveled too, and we're taking 0.055 from that and everything. So now we are looking more and more like that part, getting closer, except for, we have to make the part that comes in here. Now, the part that connects to this, it actually connects straight here, but it goes at a 10-degree angle when it's mounted in. So there's a 10-degree angle, and then it actually straightens out for the depth of that 0.0935 there. And then there's 2 screws from underneath that screw into it and everything. I'm surprised that it's that shallow. That it's that shallow, but it is now. And also, Ronnie, on that pocket on the top, that recess pocket on the top, is it have any radiuses? Because I know the piece, the clip piece, has some angle cuts where it's almost like a round over. The edges are round over, but they're angle cut because it's cut out of like a crystal, or like a acrylic or what have you.
Yeah, and this one that I have, I took this off. You can kind of see it's almost
that
like
part. Let me maximize you up here.
Let's see if I can get this where.
No, you're clear. I can. Yep.
You can see it's almost been chamfered all the way around it.
All the way around. Yep, on all the edges and everything. Instead of a round over, it's like it's chamfered.
Yeah,
and everything.
But I've made these in the past. I mean, I haven't done them on the CNC out of wood, and it's just a small round over that I take. And the only reason I round it over is so that it slides easily up in that magazine.
Sure. Yep. And we can do either one. We can do the chamfer or we can do the round over. Totally up. It's a 2-sided part anyhow. And I'm assuming now, here's the thing, because this is a 2-sided part. If you are making the screw holes and the recess, for the screws and stuff on the bottom side, we would probably, I would assume that we would be making multiple of these at one time, that where we could have a board where these bases and these stems are getting cut out of. It can get flipped on alignment pins. The backside can get cut. They can get cut out, all that stuff, right? And we could do, instead of one-offs, we could do 1 or 2 or 3 at a time or whatever, and everything. And that just depends. We might have a board just for all of our posts, and we might have a board, a 5/8 inch board for all of our bases, that kind of thing. Now,
See, Laney, I'm not to interrupt you, but I was thinking, as opposed to having to do the flip, is just taking like a 5mm brad point bit and just doing just a small peck, just to make a note of where I need to drill. I could take a hand drill or a drill press and drill
we can do that, or we can do a V bit. Do you want a brad point bit or a V bit?
Yeah, like a V, just something to make like a
a pilot. Yeah, just a little registration mark. Yep, no problem.
Yeah.
So not a problem. We can definitely do that, because with that being flat, we don't need that to be a model cut. That can be just a very simple pocket cut. And then we could have a little V cut, do a drilling tool path to make our 2 little pilots, little dimples, that kind of thing. Save you time and all that stuff. All right, so now let's go ahead and lay that out really quickly. In that pocket, Ronnie, is there any certain spacing or anything on those?
On the screws?
Yeah, on the screws.
Yeah, and I don't know if you can see on the side here. See if I can
Yeah.
get this up here. But you can see that, I forget what that measurement
That
was.
little
on
lip, that 0.0935. Yeah, that little
Yeah,
lip.
yeah. And then if you look at the end of it, it's kind of rounded over, or
Mhm.
it's kind of a rounded profile here that sits down inside the base.
Right. Okay. Yep. Yeah. That's because So that way they didn't have to deal with sharpening up the corners and all. It's just rounded. It's what the
Yeah,
router bit made for the pocket. Yep.
yeah,
So it's
right.
probably, let's call it it's probably an 1/8 inch radius with a 1/4 inch bit type of thing.
Yeah. But
So
I'm thinking that doesn't even need to be, right? I mean, just if the whole thing could sit right down inside like that, I don't really need this other little pocket here. You know what I mean?
well,
Make
yeah,
it
but
complicated.
your post is sitting at an angle, right, everybody? So the post is sitting at an angle, but that pocket has to go in straight down.
Yeah,
So
but the whole thing is going to go in there straight and register, flat, I would think. I
only
mean, that's,
only that little 0.0935 that goes in there,
yeah,
and
which I
that the
think,
rest of it sits on top.
yeah. But I just think trying to make this, I mean, you have to make some type of jig or something to hold this to go in here and route around that. I would just get rid of that and just keep it flat. And then just, it would just sit right here flat on top. As long as the screws are there. I
So
don't
are
really
you,
see a need to have this pipe. Otherwise, to me, that just feels like if you're making a bunch of these, then you're going to have some type of jig to hold these pieces upright.
Well, for the drilling maybe, but not for the pocket knob because it's a two-sided job. So
Yeah, but
that
I'm talking about what I'm holding in my hand, this magazine post. I don't know if you can see
right.
that, but let's see. I thought I had it zoomed in.
Put your hand behind it. Yeah, there you go. Yep, just like that. Okay,
Can you see that? Can you see that?
I can. Yep.
so are you, Ronnie, are you saying take that angle out of there?
Not the angle. That didn't work good. Try something else. How about this piece of cord?
Better, but
How about that? How about at that
Okay.
angle?
What
It's
is
not
it?
much.
I see the part, and I researched it online and everything. So what
It's,
is it that you're trying to show? The little
so
0.039 or the 0.0935 little tenon, the tenon.
yeah, the tenon right there that goes
Yeah.
down inside that little mortise. And I'm like,
Yes.
why do I want to make this tenon here?
Okay. Because the
But
tenon is what allows you to do the angle. Because the end of that piece is cut at 10 degrees, and the tenon is based off that 10 degrees. So it
yeah,
just
I'm just saying I've made these in the past, like this one right here, and
so
I
you
don't
just
do
want to
any of
cut
the
the angle on it like that.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay. No
And
problem.
I don't put any other type of recess or tenon on the bottom of this.
That's
It's
fine.
just flat across and then just gets screwed and sucked down on top.
But it's still going to sit in that 0.0935 hole, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay. All right. No
Yep.
problem. Yep, we can do that. Now, on that hole, let's I'm going to do an 1/8 inch circle. Now, when I select these two circles, ladies and gentlemen, and I select that rectangle last, I can use my alignment tool to align them to the center of that that square, that little rectangle, that little recess. And then I can, oh yeah, that would help. Let's go back to y'all. And here, get everybody, where's everybody at? There we are. All right, so let me redo that here. Oh, wait a minute. My little keyboard shortcuts work for both screens. Okay, so on this part here, what I was saying is I can select these two circles here. I can select this rectangle last, and I can align to the center of that rectangle. Now they're stacked on top of each other. And then I can go ahead and space them equal distance horizontally or vertically, in this case horizontally, and it'll create that equal distance spacing so that the space on the left side, the center between the two, and on the right side, they're all equal. So that puts those two holes, and those holes aren't going to be drilled that big. That just gives us a center point. Each hole has a center point for our V-bit to come make a little pilot hole. But it'll be at the center. It'll guarantee it's at the center of that part with that equal distance spacing. Right, so we still have plenty of meat over here and here for that, those screws and stuff and everything. Y'all with me on that?
Yeah, those screws are from each edge. They're like 3/8 to the center of the hole. If you needed that measurement.
So if I measured from the edge to the center of roughly around 3/8.
Yes, sir.
All right. So if I from the center to here, 395. 395. So is that close enough, or we want 3/8?
I think that's close enough.
So, cool beans. All right. So now on this part, since we are going to pocket it out and we are going to use a 1/4-inch bit and blah, 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 we could use an 1/8 inch depending on how small you want your raise. We can go ahead and put the fillet in there as well. It'll be a normal fillet, so we can, round that up. That's an 1/8 inch radius on that part. Ronnie, you good with that, or you want a smaller radius where you use an 1/8 inch bit?
No, I think that's fine, that 1/8 inch.
Okay. And then so with that, we can go ahead and I'm just going to delete that part, and I'm just going to go ahead and recreate this really quickly. We're going to go 0.0935 and subtract that just so we have a visual. It'll look something like that. Now, we're going to exclude this from the 3D model cut and everything. We're going to have it as just a pocket cut. Our V-bit's going to come in and do the little pilot holes after the pocket comes in. That'll create that. We don't need to do anything with the flat area here unless Ronnie is going to carve this from a thicker piece of material than the 5/8, right? So if your material is going to be thicker, we need to mill this down to final size. What's your end game there, Ronnie? Are you going to pre-mill your boards to the 5/8 inches thick, or are you going to take a 3/4 board and cut all the parts out of that?
Yeah, me myself, I would probably, instead of making this 5/8, I would start at 3/4.
Oh, okay.
Because it gives it a little bit more weight to it. I think it looks nicer. Then if I wanted to come in, and kind of route a profile around the perimeter, some type of decorative profile, I could do that too.
Yep. All right. And so then
I'm just thinking, Lenny, all these classes you've done just has me thinking, how you could come in here and you could use some of the texture tool. You could do, up here underneath where the gun is. I mean, you could do stack text. But you need to have
right under there. That's a lot of blank space that something could be put there for sure. You could do a really nice carving.
Yeah, I think there's so much that once you get this base done, that just leveraging some of these previous classes that you had, that you could tie some of those functionalities into this overall piece.
Sure. And so what we're going to do here is we're already at 5/8 inches thick, right? So we're just going to go 3/4. So that means we're just going to add another 1/8 inch of base to this, just to, bring that up, right? So like you said, it gives it a little bit more substantial meat and everything. And Ronnie, if it's going to be that way and you don't really need to have the pilot holes or recesses on the back, then it doesn't need to be a two-sided project at all for that. But our posts, that would be a two-sided project. All your little posts and stuff. Or you can cut the parts out and then with your 10-degree angle and all that stuff, cut the parts out, and then you can take it over to a router table and put your round over on all 4 edges.
Yeah.
on each part.
Yeah.
What do you want to do when it comes to? I'm going to show just for the class and educational purposes. I'm going to show how to make a two-sided model.
Yeah, that'd be
But
great. Yeah.
if you're doing it, it could just be a straight cut, with those angles, of course, on the end. But then it take, all those, let's say I make 6 of them, cut out 6 of those, take them over and to the router table and round all 4 edges on each one and be done with it. That kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
So the CNC doesn't have to do it, but it could. But I am going to create the part as a 3D model just to show, just for educational purposes, right? So we're going to go ahead and add a second sheet here. This will be our sheet for our clip. Now I'm going to make a one-off. So of course you could make your board longer. You could cut 20 or 30 of these out of a board, that kind of thing, right? I'm just making one. So Ronnie, what I need to know is how tall that clip is. How long is it in length, and how wide and how thick?
It is thickness wise, it's 1/2 inch.
Okay.
And in terms of length, it is. Let me get my. Measuring apparatus over here. It's going to be 3 inches tall.
Okay. All right. Give me just a second. All right. So I'm so sorry, Ronnie. We got interrupted. Could you do me the honor of giving me that number again?
Yeah, it's a 1/2 inch thick.
Got that?
3 inches tall. And the width on it is 1 1/4 inches.
Oh, okay. Oh, I got my numbers in the wrong place there. 3 inches and then 1 1/4 inches.
Yes.
All right. Now I'm going to go a little bit bigger. I'm going to go 1.5 inches just so I have something to cut out of. And I'm going to go 3.5 inches just on my material.
Okay.
3.5. Click OK. All right. So now what I just did there, guys and girls, is I just created this second sheet of material over here. We're going to swap over there for just a minute, and we'll come back and do all of our tool paths. Let's okay. So really quickly, my my part sheet is the one that got edited and not the regular one. Let me do this really quickly. 3.5, 1.5, 0.5. Okay. Let's click OK on that. Wonderful. And then let's go back to sheet 1 and refix that one. That should go back to, come on now. Make sure I am in sheet 1. I am. All right, this is my 7.875. All right, 0.65. Oop, too many decimal points. All right, so what happened, ladies and gentlemen, was I was editing, and I somehow or another was editing sheet 1, which is our main model, instead of editing the magazine sheet. Okay, so with that corrected and fixed, and all that wonderful jazz, we can continue forward. So let's get the magazine to be the active sheet. All right, on this active sheet here, let's go ahead and delete all guidelines. We're going to start fresh with our guidelines here. Now, my sheet, mind you, is just a little bit bigger than the actual part itself. The actual part itself that was just given to us was 3 inches in overall length. We have 1 inch and a quarter, I believe, wide, and then a 1/2 inch thick. 1 inch and a quarter running, not 1 inch and an eighth, right? 1 inch and a quarter.
Yeah, inch and a quarter.
3. Yep. All right, and so with that, that's going to be kind of a rough angle. Now, once again, we have an angle at one end. We're going to call this the bottom end, the end that sits on the base here. And so if this is the bottom end, and my part, let's get it rotated just so for visual purposes, right? If my part was standing up, it needs to lean forward roughly like that, right? So we need that little slight 10-degree angle. Mind you that I am on its side, right? Where we're looking at the side. So if this is the bottom, then this is the front. So my angle needs to, come this way. It's got to lean here. So here on my guideline, I'm going to change the angle. And if I need this line to twist to the right, I'm going to subtract from 90 degrees. So are we going to call it 10 degrees, Ronnie? Is that what we're going to just call it? 10 degrees? 10 okay, we're going to call it 10. All right, so we're going to subtract 10 degrees from that, and that's going to create that there. Once we make that to the return, then we come in. First of all, don't move your part, move your guideline. Grab your guideline and snap it right there, right? Now, all we have to do at this point in node editing, we can come in here and we can just drag that node up, right, to create that angle. That's it, so we can, we can kind of create that. Now, where this comes into play and everything is, here's the dealio, ladies and gentlemen. I want to do a round over on this and on the edges, or even a chamfer, right? I want to use the chamfer or what have you. Now, if I come into the modeling tools, remember I'm working with a model here, and this is going to be a 2-sided part. So what I create on the front side is going to be on the back. I want a nice round over, so don't have to take it to the router table, that kind of thing. Well, if I just selected this part as a whole right now, and I said, okay, I want to do a round, a part or an angled edge, part. It's going to do it. It's going to think of it like a pyramid where the middle is the peak, right? So it's going to take all 4 sides and create this chamfer. And I only need the chamfer on the top and the bottom when we're looking at it horizontal like this. I just need the chamfer on the sides here, right? And so, and if there's a chamfer across the top, we'll deal with that in a moment. So I can't do it as just create, select that whole vector and create the part. I have to do it as a 2-rail sweep again. So on here, I'm just going to, for now that I've got the angle and everything, I'm just going to delete these 2 spans. Or I could leave them in. I just have to cut the vector on the corners. Either way, it's just easier to delete them. And I still have my angle there. It's just 2 rails now. Now on the part is, let's draw it horizontally here, right? The part itself is 1 1/4 inch wide, and it's a 1/2 inch thick. Okay, so that's our 2 numbers for this, and the round over, right? The round over. Now it could be a chamfer too, right? I could do chamfered edges because his is chamfered, or it could be round over, right? So if I didn't want to do a round over and I wanted to do a chamfer, I can just do a chamfer. I can just draw, the line or what have you. Ronnie, you want a chamfer or a round over? Your choice, your call.
Round over.
Round over?
It's just basically you've got break those
Does the
edges.
roundover or the chamfer make it fit better? Which would?
Yeah, you have to break those sharp 90-degree edges so that it fits up inside the housing or whatever that's called. I'm not done.
Right. You know, yeah, breaking the edges for sure so it fits, but like
But,
on fit, like what holds it better? What holds it stiffer? The chamfered edge or the rounded over edge, or does it matter?
I've always used the roundovers myself.
And
I've
it
never
does
done
okay
the
for you?
chamfered edge. Yeah, it's good.
Okay. All right. I'm going to show both ways just so people can see the
Okay.
chamfered and also the roundover. But if it's a roundover, it's just a simple, when I'm in the rectangle tool, we just create the roundover. And remember now on this, we are not using the bottom span, right? So let's delete that span right there. When we are, so at that point, it's not a round over there. We got to use our fillet tool. So let's say that it's a 1/8 inch radius. What radius would you call it, Ryan? What would you, 1/8 inch, 16th inch radius? How little bit?
I would say probably nothing greater than a 16th.
Okay, so then we can bring that down to a 16, 0.0625. We can come in here and go bam and bam. That just breaks off those edges. You can even go a 30-second, whatever you want, right? So that's that. Now, if we were creating the chamfered edge and everything, then it would, instead of a round, it would just be a straight line. Either one of the two, right? It doesn't matter. So you just connect the dots. Here, basically, if we go to node editing, from that point to that point, it'd just be a straight line, right? So, and you can also take this and turn it to a line, right, to create the chamfer. Your choice, right? So, and if you wanted that, if you're like, you know what, oh, that makes the chamfer too big, then make yourself a 32nd inch radius and then turn it into a straight line. Either way, that gets you your little slight angle, right? Either one. Totally however you want to do it. You're creating the part to sweep across the model. So now let's say we're going here. Once again, we're going to rotate this 90 degrees and we'll move it. We don't have to move it out, but let's just move it out here for visual purposes. We're going to select this rail and this rail here. We're going to select this part. Well, first of all, we have to have the tool open. Let's go over to the 2-rail sweep, and that's our drive rails. We're going to sweep the spans. Sorry, wrong one. Down here, apply. Okay, give me just a second. Let me hit, let me do this. Doop. It didn't know what I was doing. All right, so we'll grab that part and hit apply. All right, so that'll create the part. And if we look at it in the 3D model, we basically have this part right here, right? Now that's the full 1/2 inch. We're doing this as a 2-sided project because we need the round over on the other side too. So that 1/2 inch I created should only be a 1/4 of an inch, right? Because a quarter is half. So this part right here, we actually need to, let's hit undo on this for a moment. This part right here, we need to bring it down a 1/4 of an inch. Now, I like using guidelines. It just helps me kind of make sure that I am doing everything that I need to be doing. Node editing allows me to just pull that node and snap right to that guideline there. Get in there. I'll make sure my part, when I check it here in just a minute, that it should be a 1/2 inch tall. And if we look at our size, we missed it by just a fraction of a butt. That's because I'm off my guideline right there by that much. Let me put my guideline where it belongs. Let's try that again. Yep, missed it by that mile. All right, node editing. We can drag that out to there. Snap that to there. And now, if all is right with the world, I'm at 1/4 of an inch. Wonderful. All right, one more time. We select our profile drive rails, 2-rail sweep. That's our selection for the drive rails. Select the part and apply. Once it creates that part, we close that, right click on this and copy to the other side. And if we look at it in our 3D view, we should have that part, right? Minus our little 0 plane there and everything. But that's going to be our 1/4 inch clip. Now, again, if someone didn't want to go through the trouble of, see, all these parts could be cut out of a bigger board, and you could carve, 10 at a time, 6, 5, whatever, right? And so when you're cutting all those front sides, flip it over on the alignment pins, cut all the back sides, and then cut it out. Be done with it, right? If you're going to have the CNC do it, you're going to set it up, like a production or a one-off if it's only one you're making. If you didn't want to go into a two-sided flip and all that stuff, then you're going to cut out all the parts, and then you'll just do those roundovers at the router table, a router table. I've got a nice little Amana 16th inch roundover. It's a really nice little bearing bit and all that. It does a really nice, it breaks off edges really good and stuff like that. That on my plastic parts that I cut and things, I cut all my parts off, and then I have a router station just with that bit in it. It doesn't change, so they can all just run through there just to break off the edges. It's a nice little, very small roundover. So it's either one, Ronnie, like, either one gets you from point A to B. You can do it as a 3D model. And again, your board is as long as your board is, and however many of those clips that you can fit out laying across them, you're cutting all the top sides, you're flipping it over on your alignment pins, cutting all the bottom sides, and then cutting them out, right? And then done. And you could, knock out 10 at a time, that kind of thing. Either way. The 3D model cut, now, since the part is flat on the top, we don't need, yes, sir.
I was just going to say, we need that same angle up at the top of it.
Okay, not a problem. We can do that.
Yeah.
All right, not a problem. So, on this, we can take a guideline. Now, on the guideline, that angle needs to go the same. Let me see here. Hold on a second. Bear with me just a minute. All right, so if that's leaning 10 degrees, we need this to be straight across on the top so that the wide end of the angle comes on the back side of that one. Okay, hold on a minute. Let me get it back where it was. Okay, so here I need, this is the same angle that I need. So it's going to be that 10 degrees. So it's 80 degrees that we're going here. Click apply on the guideline. Now we drag this edge to the end of the vector here. Okay. Now, if you've already created the part, ladies and gentlemen, and if you've already created the part, and let's say that you didn't want to delete and go back and all that stuff, you just needed to knock off that end and all that, create a rectangular boundary around your part, right? Your full rectangular boundary there. Go into node editing and pull that line, that 10 degrees there, pull this line 10 degrees here, just like that. And with that vector, you can simply select that vector. You can select the model. So let's turn off the guidelines. Vector, model. And then you can simply go over here to clear everything outside of the boundary. And it will just, well, first of all, that was clear everything on the inside of the boundary. Let's do that again. Select the component. Clear everything on the outside of the boundary. It'll get rid of that part, right? but only on that one side, then you just flip it over, right? And that's just a matter of copy to the other side. And on that other side, we delete the model. Wait. All right. Am I on the other side? I think am I on side one? I don't think I flipped. There we go. We get rid of that. Okay. So if I look at it, the 3D view, we have this. That part, which you're not looking at the 3D view, you're looking at a block of wood. Let's close that preview window and you will see the model. There you go. All right. So we have that part so that when that part is sitting angled, that's not a good angle, but you get the idea. When it's sitting angled on the base, it's straight across on the top. Correct, Ronnie?
That's it. That's it.
Right? Yeah. Okay. So now give me just a second here and let me go full screen for just a moment. Let me find my thing here. All right. So that was taking the model that I just did and drawing a vector and deleting everything outside of that vector. The other way, ladies and gentlemen, really quickly, is let's go back to side one. I'm just going to delete that part for right now. I'm going to delete that vector. The other way is just like we did, we come in here with our guideline, which I already have. We go into node editing and we make sure our drive rails match, the angles, right? The two drive rails. It's just as easy as that, right? And once we have our two drive rails matching on our two rail sweep, we select our rails. That's our selection. We select our part and we simply hit apply, right? So either one will get you from point A to B. Either one will get you from point A to B, whether you say, oh, I got the part, I just need to delete everything out of this vector, right? And make the shape, or just sweep it to begin with those two angles on it. Whichever one you want to do, both get you from, point A to point B. All right, so now we have this clip. And again, it really comes down to time, production, all that stuff. If it's something that you're, if you're making one-offs or, a few here, a few there, then, hey, let the CNC do it. If it's a production thing, then set up a station for a round over. But also you got to think about it's a small part, your fingers with the round over. It's a small round over bit. So, I mean, it's not that dangerous, but all those things come into play, right? So now we have the two parts, the two models. And the one thing that we need to do, Ronnie, is we need the, am I understanding correctly that the part is going to fit inside of this thing? We're not making the tenon, because right now this little vector right here is drawn for the tenon where I'm pointing. This is drawn for that little tenon that you didn't want. So I have to make it big enough for the big part to fit in.
Yeah, it doesn't need to actually fit into that mortise on the base.
You're going to just stand it up on the edge and not even a little recess just to kind of give it a little lock in, none of that.
No, because it's going to lock in with, see how I've assembled these in the past is after I've cut out the post, then, and I like the ideas of the screw, but what I've done in the past is I just take a piece of all thread, a short piece of all thread, and I go inside here with a little bit of epoxy, knock it off, and then I drill the hole through the base, sit this down onto the base, and then underneath I just take a wing nut and screw it down on there.
Oh, okay.
And the reason I'm doing that, I've made these in the past, not exactly like this. This is really nice, but just on a flat board. and
Yeah.
people take these guns to the shows and everything. So they need something they can pack it flat and haul
Sure.
it into the show. And it makes it really easy. They don't need screwdrivers or anything like that. They just sit this on top of the board. Underneath, they take a wing nut and it's there. They don't need a screwdriver or anything like that. If that makes sense.
Nice. Yeah, nice. Yep.
But this is just sitting straight down on there.
And that's okay. Yeah.
Without the
No,
wheels
that's
or
fine. Then
things.
so then we could technically we could just create the little pilot holes where the holes get drilled,
Yeah.
and then the that pocket can be removed from there. You know, all that
Yeah.
stuff all together.
I really
So
I really like the idea of the screws though, because it makes it a lot faster to put these together without having to cut that piece of all thread. You know,
sure.
I like those two screws right there because then they could just set it down on there and screw it in. Although over time you're probably gonna have screws wallowing out and things, but anyway, I do like the ideas of the screws.
Sure. And the um, what am I trying to say here, Ronnie? The it was good too. Instead of the all thread and everything like that, you could also from the bottom up, recessed of course, you could put a like a hex head bolt going up, and then in the bottom of the piece where you would normally put the all thread that you cut, and all that stuff, you could just put a threaded insert.
Yeah, true.
True. Which isn't too difficult. It wouldn't be too bad to do. You could literally make a nice little jig at the drill press, or something that could knock it out in a matter of seconds. But yes, understand everything that you're saying there. Now, one thing, Ronnie, when I was kind of looking at when I was kind of doing my homework and stuff on the 1911 stands and stuff, another cleverness idea and all, if we were to look at all the different options and things out there in the world, right? Another clever like someone was with wood, they were making like a little American flag engraving on there. We were talking about engraving, but also a little pocket there for a clip, which I don't think that looks very aesthetic, but you have that big wide space there that nothing is happening there. I like the idea of a carving of some sort, right? Clip, you could drill holes for like rounds to go in, to drop in, little shells and stuff like that. All kinds of fun stuff. There's all kinds of options out there. You could really just take it. I mean, you could really take it and run with it, right? You could do so many cool things with the carving aspect of it. You have the model with the carving aspect of it. You could custom engrave it, to people's names over here. That's what this little nameplate is for anyway. But, clips, you could do little, place to hold some rounds, whatever. Just, it's all displayed, right? It's all displayed.
Right.
You could even, I don't know if it's a thing or whatever, but you could even put slots for challenge coins, right? Under the gun, something like that, right? Like really pretty cool. They could turn out to be, very nice for law enforcement officers and things like that, or military. It could be a nice retirement gift to send, where they has their name on it. It has a nice engraving, but it also has a slot for their challenge coin for their, MOE and all that stuff. All right. So all right. So now the tool pass. Now, when it comes to the tool pass, we really technically, for one, let's fix a part based on Ronnie's intake or Ronnie's input. We're going to come over here and we're going to, in our components, make sure I'm on the right side. Let me see what side I'm on. I'm on side 1. Make sure I'm on the right sheet. Wonderful. We're going to go ahead and turn off component 2 here. And component 3, not component 2. And we will just drill the holes. Now, Ronnie, just so we make sure that we have the holes in the right place and all that stuff, and everything, this shape right here, if I redrew it, basically, with the smaller round over that 16th instead of the 8th that's on that big pocket there, if I said that this needed to be half inch thick,
Yep.
inch and a quarter wide with a 16th inch, that's a 5/8. Let's show a 16th round over. I could just snap it right to the middle of that. And then I could come in here and get rid of this one. So it is the same size, and just with the smaller round.
Oh, yeah, perfect.
Yep. Now it looks like it's crooked because of this guideline, so we're going to turn that off. All right. So this is all 2D cut right here.
Okay.
We're not doing a pocket. We're just doing the drill holes. So basically the drill holes look like this on the toolpath. Drilling toolpath. We're only going to just literally like a 16th or, an 8th. You don't need to go real deep. It's just a pilot hole. Let's just go 0.08. Oops, hold on a second. Give me just a moment. It was asking me to change my model thickness because remember I put that 1/8 inch base under to make it a 3/4 inch part. And so let's get that 3/4 inches in there. There we go. Took just a second for it to process. Not yet. Nope. All right. So now we're going to go 0.8, 0.08. Try that. We're going to use our 60-degree V-bit and just calculate that. And all that's going to do, if we flip this bad boy around, let's get that back on the top here. All that's going to do is make 2 little indentions, right? Just to give you an indication of where you're drilling. Now, when it comes to the 3D cut, we don't, this all flat area here, unless Ronnie wants to skim a little off the surface to make sure it's flat, or if it's just going to be right on the 3/4, then we only need to focus on this area here. So we can draw a vector. We'll come just past where it angles here. We can draw a vector here. And with a not rounded corners, Laney, come on, let's go back in there. Square corners. And we can create our rough cut. We'll use our 1/4 inch end mill. We'll use the selected vector as the boundary and calculate that. Preview the visible toolpath. Okay. And then the finish cut, we can use an 1/8 inch tapered ball nose just to give us a little bit of, so the little radiuses here will be smaller. We'll do an 1/8 inch. You could use a 1/4, but they'll be bigger on those corners. Let's go 1/8 inch. And again, selected vector as the boundary. Make sure that vector on that bottom base is selected because we only need to mill that chamfer area. That's going to do the chamfer and this little recess right here, all in one toolpath. And I made a mistake, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to stop. We're not going to cut in a offset. We're going to do a raster, like a printer, back and forth. We want to cut with the grain. We don't want to go around and around. We don't want to have to do a lot of sanding and cleanup. So we want to cut with the grain, a raster, not an offset, not an offset. All right, let that calculate. Am I good audio and visual wise, ladies and gentlemen? Is JR, where'd JR go? There's JR. JR, you still with me? There you are, JR. Sorry about that. Did it calculate? Bear with me. It's still calculating. For some reason, something slowed down. There we go. It was taking a second. It was scaring me. All right, let's look here. So that roundover is just going to be handling that chamfer. So we can preview. Let's get it turned to a top view. Preview the visible toolpath. It's going to kind of just run up. It'll do that little pocket as well. Right? And Bob's your uncle. Now, Ronnie, because of the roundover bit and everything, it's going to be a slight little roundover on the bottom edge of that, but nothing that shouldn't be anything to really clean up to put your nameplate in and stuff. You know, very little chisel work to get that just tight and right. All right. That's it for the tool.
I'm actually thinking where that nameplate, because then that's a whole nother process of getting somebody to laser out a nameplate and stick it in there, and over time that glue comes loose and those things flip up. I'm thinking of just having that area that's been drawn out, just to maybe put the person's name using the V-bit.
Okay. Yep, you could do that.
Instead of a pocket. I mean, it's good to see that, and that's identical to what I showed you. But now that I look at it, I'm like, why not just have the V-bit, just, type, just put in a name, or as opposed to that pocket. Sure.
Yep. And also, again, you could another thing you can do there, Ronnie, as well, is out of another piece of material, you could engrave something, and you could, glue it onto that base at that angle, make your own little nameplate out of wood or all kinds of stuff, right? So totally your choice. Now, if you were carving text on that, right? If you were carving text on that, let's look at that so you can see how that would go. So let's say, for instance, that let's say that this is, John Smith and Wesson, right? Whatever. And where'd that go? That went up there. So let's go 0.5 inches tall. Definitely need to go smaller. Let's go 0.25. Let's say I'm going to come down here right in the middle just for visual purposes, because I want you to see the angle, how it handles it. We'll do, let's just do for right now, we could do script, but let's do regular text just so you can see it clearly. I mean, you see it clearly either way, but let's, I'm just going to go Franklin, where are my F's, A, B, C, D, E, F. We'll do Franklin Dimmabold. All right, let's come over here. Now, I'm going to turn off on our components. I'm going to turn off that. So all we're looking at now is just the, if we close this, just the model, right? Nothing here, right? So when I come and do the V-carve toolpath, no flat depth on this, 60-degree V-bit, no end mill. It could be a 22 as well, right? Whatever V-bit, but I'm going to project that onto the 3D model. We're going to calculate that toolpath. Now we're going to come back to our 3D finish, and we're going to recalculate it without the pocket. We're stepping back a minute. So let that calculate real quick, because the text has to follow that chamfer. You know, Ronnie, and this can lead into. I mean, I know we've kind of like, we're setting it up for a 1911 all, but I mean, really any handgun, any,
Oh yeah.
you could really size. It's just how tall does the clip support need to be and all that stuff.
Right.
All right, what just happened there? Lord have mercy. Let's see here. Just my base. Reset the preview. Preview the visible toolpath. Okay. So on the V carve is going to be following that, right? And so what basically is happening, let's see if I can get it really let me see what my preview simulation is. Let's turn my simulation up really. This is going to take just a minute to preview both of these once again. Give it just a second. Okay. And so essentially what's happening is because of the angle, we're carving deeper on the front side here because it's higher up, and then shallower on the bottom side here because it's lower down, but it creates a consistent carving, and, our router bit, when we are, let's go front, our bit is coming straight down, right? It's not angling, so it's coming straight down. So it's carving on that angle. So the upper areas that are higher to the bit are going to be, they're deeper. And then the bottom area is going to be shallower. I think I said that, but I confused myself and everything. And so, but you could absolutely do that, Ronnie, right? You could carve a name. Hell, you could, I mean, there's so many realms, right? So you could do the pocket, you can do, and we need to add in our last little preview. That's our little, what's happening there? Hold on. Stop. Oh. This is what I wanted to do. There we go. So there's your two little holes. Anyhow, but long story short, there's so many ways that you can take this piece, right? And so many things that you can do with it for other firearms, for flags carving in it, for whatever people's, whatever their company logo, business logos, right?
Could you even Laney do like that wavy flag?
For sure, 100%. Yes.
That might be kind of cool looking too. I mean, I guess there's so much. I'd have to go back and rewatch all your videos.
Right. Yeah. Just on the wavy flag, it's going to be a pocket, and the wavy flag is going to be inside of that. If we were to, we got what time is it? It's 9:37. Let's take 2 seconds. Let's take 2 seconds here. And literally, it'll take more than 2 seconds, but here we go. We're going to go to import a vector. We're going to go to my downloads. We're going to go to the my PNIP. I got to make that breadboard at some point in time. Where is PNIP? Right there. PNCIP. That stands for something. I forget what it stands for, and I made it. Let's go to master files, updated files, 2440, vcarve setup, flag. Okay. All right. So let's take, we got 2 flags here, the Betsy Ross and that. Let's take this and we'll get rid of this. Let's take this bad boy and size him down. Keep that aspect ratio. Don't stretch your flags, ladies and gentlemen. This is constitutionally perfect. Okay, let's say now, ladies and gentlemen, I want this flag to be centered between the where it starts chamfering in here. If I draw a line down the edge of my board, I'm going to go right past. This is my vector for my finish cut, but right to where it starts turning gray. By drawing that line, I've created a virtual center point. Okay. And so I can take my flag and select the flag and hold down the shift key and select that line. And then it gives me something to align to, right? So I can align and make sure I'm aligned and everything. Now on that, I want to, let's get rid of this vector because it's going to throw you off. But I'm going to hold down the shift key and make it just also bigger. We'll go right there. And let's move it over a little bit. And again, if I said, okay, let's say that I could also do it this way. If I drew a line from here to the side of my clip, then I could take my flag, select the flag, select that line, and then align it left to right, right? So now I'm centered between that. It got the same spacing aesthetically, whatever you want to do. All right, so now wavy, right? So first things first, we're going to get rid of every other stripe. We don't carve the red stripes. So select, hold that shift key down, every other stripe, which are the red stripes. We're going to delete those, or you can put them on another layer. We only carve the white stripes. We are going to do here. Before I do that, let me draw a rectangle around the perimeter. Okay, now let me get rid of those red stripes. Now on that perimeter, ladies and gentlemen, pull it out so you're not trying to select. It's on top of everything, right? Whatever you draw last is on top. And if I wouldn't have pulled that out, then I wouldn't have been able to select these stripes again. I've been like fighting that perimeter. Just pull it out because you can put it back in just a second. So we're going to hit delete. And then on this perimeter, we just can bring that, snap it right back there. Wonderful. All right, now I'm going to draw two lines that are going to represent drive rails for a wave, okay? Now, it's very important that we only stay within a boundary and all, but I want my wave for right now. I'm just going to kind of draw it at a slight angle, like right here. And I'm going to draw another one. Doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter where you do. This is just kind of the path that you're following. And then we're going to create a wave. So I'm going to freehand it up here in the gray so everybody can see. I'm just going to kind of freehand a wave. You can node edit, you can play around, you can do whatever your heart desires with these things. I just wanted to kind of ripple and everything, very slight ripple there. All right, now on my flag, on the flag, I'm going to create this model, okay? And so in our component tree, are y'all still with me? Everybody still with me? So in our component tree, Chair, are you still with me? Okay. Making sure. Just check. Okay. So in our, we're going to make this model. So stripes, select them. And you could also do it as a V carve too, ladies and gentlemen. Since we're doing a wave, we're going to just make it as a model so it follows. So we're going to stripes, flat part. We're going to just shallow. This isn't a big flag, right? This is a little stand, right? So we're just going to go a 1/16 of an inch deep, and it'll be a subtract. Okay. So if you look here, you'll see that right there, right? Okay. Now, next, the stars. Now, some people like the stars raised. I like the stars pocketed in. Totally your choice. You can do them up or down. I like them in. So they're going to have a beveled angled shape. I'm going to go 45 degrees, 100% of whatever that shape, takes it. But I want to preserve the internal corners. Very important, or they'll get rounded off on those internal corners. I want to preserve the corners. And then I'm going to do a subtract, click apply. Now, once again, on those stars, I could do an add where they're raised up. It's totally your call. I prefer down. Either one. Your choice. Doesn't matter. All right, so that's that. Now, we are going to take our perimeter, the entire perimeter, and we're going to just oh, what am I trying to say? Offset it just a little bit to create like a frame around the flag. So we want to come here, and I'm not big. Again, this is a small part, right? So I want to go outward. I want sharp corners, and I'm only going to go out. Let's see what a 16th, how far that takes me. And hit offset. Brings me right close to that edge. Let's cut that in half. 03125. 03125. Okay. That's just giving me a little bit of a meat, a little bit of a frame right around here. And we're going to take my perimeter and everything right here, and we're going to drop that whole thing down. So square shape, not my outside perimeter, not my offset, just the perimeter, like at the border of the flag. So we're going to drop that down a very small amount again, just a 03125 fractions, right? Not big at all. Subtract. Okay. So now if we look at this, let me turn this off. Let's close this and components, click not. All right. So basically what I have right now is just a little recess in here. Okay. A little recess. Now I'm going to wave this. So that just in that area. So we take a 2-rail sweep. We select our drive rails. Okay. We come in and select our little wave, and we're going to sweep it between those 2 rails. Okay. Now, the wave, all right, is all outside, right? It's an all add, kind of thing, right? We're going to end up bringing it flush, but we're also going to be trimming it too. It's not going to be this. That's just that wave following those 2 lines I drew, right? And those lines were longer. Now we're going to take and those parts, let's go to our component tree. This is where levels comes into play. We're going to make a new level. We're going to take our wave and put it up there. We're going to take our flag pocket, our flag actually. Bear with me. Put those up there. Let's just do this all in the 3D view so you can see what's happening here. Okay. And then we're going to take this wave and select that little boundary right there. And we're going to use our tool here to clear everything outside of the boundary. So that's going to get rid of all that excess stuff outside so that the wave is only on the flag. Okay, now my wave, you can draw your wave better, right? I just freehand drew that wave, right? You can make your little wiggly line better. Now we need this to be flush because it's our top of our board is flush, and so this flag is going to be waved, but it's going to be recessed in, and so that's where our little pocket is going to come into play. This offset right here. So first things first, go into here. We'll turn that off for a second. You can see here, just let me turn it around. You see how we're sitting up, right? And that's a thing too. You could have it raised up if you wanted. If we wanted it raised up, you would just have to make your board 3/4, but you have to mill off that top surface so the flag's raised, right? You got to, you know what I mean? But if we're going to do it inside, then we take that boundary and our flat shape, bring it down. Oh, hold on. Let me see how thick our model is. How thick is our model? Our model is going to be as thick as our wave is. So that's 0.1372. So flat shape, 0.1372, a little over 1/8 of an inch. Subtract. And then let's turn off that red color so it. The top of our flag right here, the highest part of our flag is at the surface, and then the rest of it is whatever the rest of it is. But you know, you can do. Let's go out full view so we can see what's happening here. So again, my wave isn't the prettiest, but you get the idea, right?
Yeah.
So you could do a wavy flag. Now you could have it recessed like that, or you could have it sitting on top. Again, if you have it sitting on top, you just have to, my 3/4 inch board is going to carve this 1.137 inch tall flag. So I'm going to be taking off the flat that 0.137 inches off that. So my part's going to end up back around that, you know, just under 5/8 inches thick. You know what I mean? Do you understand, Ronnie, what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
either one, or you start off with like if you're planing your wood, if you're milling your lumber from raw lumber, don't bring it all the way to 3/4. You know, leave yourself a little bit so that you can mill it and mill that flag in there, and then mill a flat surface from that rough lumber or whatever. Either way, you get the general idea, right? Is everybody with me on that?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
And I think
yes.
I think I probably would go the other way where it's sitting on top. And not
Okay. Yep. So if we turn that
maybe
off,
start out with some 7/8 material.
yes.
So
And if we were gonna have it standing up, then my little frame, this right here, those two. Oh, not that. Sorry. Hold on. Give me a second. I need to save, by the way, ladies and gentlemen. File save, because things keep freezing up. Okay. So if I, excuse me, if I select this and this, then I would make a flat shape, merge, and by the way, I just lied to you. This line right here, we need to go in just a little bit further with it. So we're going to offset it inward because it is a rectangle, just a little bit like that. So that way this frame that I'm about to create merges properly with it. Make sure I'm not touching my stars. All right, let's not offset that much. Let's offset a little bit, not that much. There we go. All right, so this vector and this vector, flat shape, whatever, 0.137, whatever it was, 0.137. Click create. It needs to be a merge, so merge and apply. Give me just a second. This will make sense in a moment. So if you were going to have it raised up, and it doesn't need to be, I had it too high. Hold on, I went too high. 0.06. And here's the cool thing. I can actually, I don't need to do the numbers over on the right-hand side. I can, use this shape right here and my mouse and all, I can pull that up and down as I need, right? So just going to kind of give it a little bit there. But you can, you can choose to not have a frame around it. You can choose to have a frame around it. All that is doing is just kind of encompassing. Like the reason why I do that is because if I wanted to do a pocket cut to clear out and flatten this out and leave myself this little piece of wood sticking up, then I can just carve my 3D model in there, right? So it's just a little outline, little border, just kind of gives it it finishes off the edge, but it's not a requirement by any means. And again, my wave is ugly, guys and girls. You can really, really finesse that wave. So it's taller on the back end where the stripes are, like wind blowing. You know, it's higher on the back end, and then it ripples to the front end. I have a big ripple right in the middle of the front, and that's throwing it off a bit, but you get the idea.
Right.
So, yes, Ronnie, like you said, make it a little bit thicker and then mill down to it for sure. Right? So the possibilities are endless. You know, remember the dish you did with the lion or whatever not too long ago?
Yeah,
you know, something like that could be, a dish could be milled in that as well, in the top, a nice little dish with something. It could be anything really. It could be, a deer, a duck, whatever, right? Anything. It really just, there's so many doors that are so many things like, man, I could really just do all kinds of cool stuff with just this one part. This one part could have so many different looks.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But
cool.
stick with what stick with. Don't try to do everything, but hey, I've got 3 good designs that people can choose from, that kind of thing. Right.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah. So looking at this, if we were to do that 3D finish again, ladies and gentlemen, one last thing is, remember on that 3D finish, I was only milling, this area here for that ramp, right? But if we're doing what Ronnie's, what we're talking about, what Ronnie said, is we're milling down to that so it's raised up, then my material or model becomes the boundary. But in this case, I always kind of create a boundary myself all the way around, and then selected vector is that boundary, calculate it, and let that calculate, and then we'll do a preview of the carving with the name carved in it and finish it
that'll
off.
take into consideration the model of the flag on the
yes
3D finish.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So the 3D finish, we don't have to do anything. We're just selecting that boundary because we're saying, hey, carve within this. It's going to carve the flag and that angle, that chamfered angle. Now, of course, our chamfered angle still is 1 5/8 inches long, and all that stuff. But our part now is being reduced in size by that 0.137. So the by that 0.137, and all of that. Let's see here. Excuse me. All right, so now let's reset this. Now, first of all, before I preview this calculation, I want to take a look at my material setup really quickly, make sure there were no errors, which there was, and it didn't say, hey, you have an error, you can't calculate. It just let me calculate it anyways. But right here, the model thickness is thicker because I added that flag on top, right? So I need it to be thinner. So I have to go back really quickly to my base and take that meat off the bottom of the base that I added earlier. So 0.8872 minus 0.75. So let's go here. This will be 0. And I'm going to just real quick, I'm going to do some So 0.01 point 0122 I need to remove off the top of this. So and I can do it from the here. So minus 0.0122 equals. Now, where'd that number come from, Lenny? Over here on the right hand side, my model thickness was 0.7622. My material is 3/4, which left a difference of 0.0122. And that's what I had to subtract from that model thickness to bring it within. Now my model is 3/4 inches thick with the flag and everything, right? So when I mill down, the top, very tip top of the highest part of the flag is going to be 3/4. And then this top part of the base is going to be like 0.6162, something like, close to 5/8. So let's redo that really quickly. Click OK. Recalculate. I only need to recalculate the 3D finish, the V carve, and the drill. And the drill toolpath needs to be projected onto the 3D model now, right? So that needs to be, on the 3D model. So let's recalculate those visible toolpaths, and then this will wrap up our class for the ending, ladies and gents, and everything. So let's almost done with the calculation. Little blue bar is just traveling slow. One more pass.
After
Go ahead.
after you've calculated using the extremely high, and you see everything,
Yes.
and you like what the results are, does it help to speed up the calculating process to then go back to a resolution?
Oh yeah, you can on the preview resolution. Don't change your model resolution, because that's the quality of your cut. That translates over to the actual quality of the finished carving. So the model resolution in the job setup, you're going to keep that at extremely high, but your preview simulation, for speeding up your preview, you can turn that down. The only thing that's going to do is you're just going to have pixelation in your preview. And that's under toolpaths, preview simulation quality. Instead of extremely high, it could be, at high or whatever. But again, it's going to be pixelated for my preview, but it also, it doesn't drag out. So let's preview the visible toolpaths, and let's see where we stand. So, and of course there'd be a rough cut in here. I just didn't calculate that. Now, I can tell you right now, my 1/8 inch ball nose bit is too big for the flag. So there would be a second bit added to that toolpath for my detail bit. Let me just really quickly, because I don't want to end the note on that that look right there. Let me just really quickly go into this 3D finish and add in that, or change the add in. Bear with me a second. I want okay, let that calculate one more time. I just don't want to end on that note with that bigger bit carving that flag. And then we'll good stuff. Did y'all hear about, while we're talking or while we're waiting for that to calculate? Did y'all hear about? There's a young TikToker. She was a fitness influencer, workout. I forget whatever her name is, whatever. But she lived off of energy drinks and pre-workout, supplements, which are caffeine anyway. 24 years old or something like that. 24 years old. She's a fitness influencer, but she's just energy drinks, supplements, pre-workout supplements, which is caffeine, for that pump and all. Died of a heart attack.
Oh my!
And such a shame. They just saw the news, but these
Wow.
energy drinks are just brutal, man. But she would have before every workout, she would have 3 energy drinks and then a pre-workout supplement, which is additional caffeine. And it was just a caffeine overload for her body. All right, let's go through and preview that visible toolpath once again. And let's let that bit go back and am I missing something? Hold on a minute now. Let me make sure my tool has not been compromised here. Oh, somebody did compromise my tip radius. 0.156. I knew that had to have been wrong. 15625 divided by 2 equals. Okay. One more quick time. Let's calculate that again. Sorry, folks. For some reason, my bit got changed. The tip diameter got changed on that bit, and it wasn't doing
calculating. How's the clamp prototypes going?
Good. So this weekend, I've been working on. I've been spending this week getting Planet CNC and some new profiles done for Digital Woodcarver for our new software update and everything. So it kind of took me away from it. But this weekend, I'm going to be finalizing my wasteboard with the clamping jig and everything. And I'm hoping to be able to show that off this coming week. I didn't get a chance to do it this week because we had an unexpected software update coming out, and we were just grinding to get all the new code and everything done for our controller software for our machines and stuff. But it's gonna do well. I'm super stoked about it, and also I'm in the process of designing for what I call semi-automatic tool change, a new touch tool setter, probe, and limit switch kit for 2 of our machines. And so it's this weekend. I'm hoping to get the wasteboards done for my machines, which are going to ultimately I'll be doing training videos on how to make those. All right, let's see what happens here. I don't know why I'm missing the boat on something here. What am I missing the boat on?
That second.
Right. That's exactly right.
Which it looks fine now.
No, that's the 3D model.
Oh. Okay.
All right, hold on one second, ladies and gents. We're gonna do it this way. I've been rerunning the toolpath on top of the old, so I'm gonna reset the preview back to a blank board. It's crazy that my stars, the bit's not getting into the stars. That's one of the things. Preview the visible toolpath. I just want to see. Yeah, see that bit's too big. I don't where what the hell is that? Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on, ladies and gents. Give me a second now. Let's clear out these tools. All right, this is my 3D finish. I'm gonna have a 16th inch radius. That's an 1/8 inch bit. We'll do a 16th with a 32nd inch bit. So that's going to be, we'll do that as the main tool. And then this tool, let me figure out what's going, oh, I forgot my 0. There we go. This is 0. Let me fix it real quick. 0.01562. It's a 32nd inch with a 64th inch radius. Oh, come on, Laney. 0.03125 divided by 2 equals. There we go. 0.15625. I knew. All right, that's why it wasn't doing it. I had it set as 0.15, almost 316. So let's apply that. Let's hit select. Make sure everything is set for raster. One more time, ladies and gentlemen. I swear we're done out of this. We'll recalculate that really quickly. Let that calculate. I was like, man, what's going on there? Why isn't that working? But yeah, Keith, isn't that crazy? That's crazy about that woman. I just, I hate it. I hate it. You know, she was doing good, making good money, you know, lots of followers, and then going. But I tried my hand at fitness influencing for a little bit when I was going to the gym every day for a year. Made videos of my progress. And they did well for a while, but then I couldn't keep it up. I was too tired. Working too much.
I don't see how people do all these all the videos that are on YouTube. I mean, I don't know how anybody gets any work done.
Yeah, well, now on my woodworking channel before Digital Woodcarver and all that, when I was actually making woodworking videos full time, the schedule was this: come up and do the design idea on Sunday. Carve, or not carve, sorry, this was before CNC. Build, you know, cut and build the project on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday, if it went into a 3-day build. Filming the whole time through every step. Editing the video and all the footage and everything on Thursday, and uploading the video on Friday. Every Friday, a new video was released, and that was it was a full 40-hour schedule. Design on Sunday, build Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, or Wednesday at the latest. Have it done by Wednesday. Edit all the footage on Thursday, and then upload it on Friday. And did that, you know, for years, from 2010 to 2015, and I need to get back to that, but I just can't right now with the, you know, handling the Digital Woodcarver support calls and things like that. That takes up, that's a full-time job. That's 24-hour call center. So
yeah, you sound like me. You're working 7 days a week.
yeah. Well, 6. Sunday is my day to be out in my shop to do, and really I'm just you know, I'm working towards, like, you know, trying to get stuff done. Saturday and Sunday I have the opportunity to be out in the shop, because Saturday I don't get a whole lot of calls, support calls or anything, but and this is still calculating, ladies and gentlemen. That's why we're talking. There we go. Still get a lot of support calls, but they're not that bad to where I can be out in the shop getting stuff done. All right, so we don't need to see the tool. We'll turn that off. That'll help it. Turning your tool off will help with the simulation time as well. And let me, well, after all that 7 tries and all, we'll just let it play out. We'll let it play out. It won't take very long to I don't know why it's so slow.
Almost got the bubble done.
Yeah, it's almost done. But let's see here. Is JR? Where's JR? JR, what? I keep losing my man here. Hello, JR. We're just about to get all wrapped up. JR, well, I got you here at some point in time. Schedule some time with me to help you get things up and running and stuff. And get you tight and right. That's looking a little better. That's the bigger bit. The smaller bit will come in and touch it up. But
how you been, JR?
Oh, hold on, JR. Say it. Go ahead. How you been, JR?
Busy.
Right on.
All right, so the smaller bit should come back and make those stars a little bit more presentable. There we go. Not a lot. They're small stars, but so that would be your, that's that. And then we have our V-carve and our drill. Preview the visible toolpath. Oh, let's stop that. V-carve, preview visible toolpath. There we go. All right, so it would look something like that, Ronnie, or, that's it. And, of course, at that point, you can make your wave whatever it wanted to be. All it is it's a 2-rail sweep, right? So you draw your lines and you create the wave, whatever it is that you're, whatever, wave you'd like to have, and you're sweeping it between there. And then you're taking your boundary, it was this inside boundary here, and you're selecting that boundary and that wave, and you're deleting everything outside of the boundary. So all the stuff over here and all the stuff over there goes away, and it's only the wave on the flag. That's it. Right? So, and your lines don't have to be angled. I just do that so the wave kind of flows at an angle. They could be straight, whatever. They don't have to be angled. I just like a little slight angle and stuff. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's see what we got here as far as questions and everything. I
think you lost Ronnie.
Ronnie. I did lose Ronnie. He'll be back. Where'd he go? He might have had the hard finish. I don't know. Let me see here. Nice part. Thanks, Hank. Good night to all. Good night, Keith. Ronnie, I'm not sure where you, I don't think I hit and deleted you or anything like that. But I will send this file over to you to play around with and see if you can get that finessed and stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, hopefully you picked something up from here. Remember, if you're doing a 2-rail sweep horizontally, put your profile out to the side. Only work with the 3 legs. If you're doing a molding toolpath, it's only 1 rail. And generally, it's your top rail working down, or it's your right rail working back, depending on if your profile is drawn up here, sweeping across, or over here, sweeping across this way. Either one. So take a look at that and give it a try yourself. Make a certain shape or something and see what you can do there. JR, good to see you. Thanks for hanging out with me online. And let's see, Ronnie, what Ronnie had to say real quick. Lost my connection, apparently. Thanks again for your time and explaining the details. Have a good evening. All right. Thanks, you too, Ronnie, as well. All right. And everybody else, I appreciate your time. Hopefully you picked something up from tonight's class. And again, if you don't have Aspire or, able to create models, to your molding toolpath is another way to make it happen. All right, JR, we'll catch you later. Y'all have a great evening. See you tomorrow night.